Welcome to a bonus episode of the Sober Motivation Podcast. I got my good friend Megan, aka the Sober Sister, and we're going to be talking about staying sober throughout the summer. So if this is your first sober summer, this is going to be an episode you want to check out. Welcome, Megan. How are you?
Hi, Brad. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So I got gathered a few questions from people that we'll go over. We'll just kind of give our insight, and then we'll get some tips from you about what worked for you early on and how you navigated your first summer, and just kind of go back and forth on that. I think one of the first ones I found this one to be really cool is, how do you deal with being nervous to hang out with old friends when you're newly sober?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And it can feel a little awkward at first, and you could feel very uncomfortable. And I feel like that feeling only lasts for a little bit though. For me, I remember one of my first times heading out, I was heading to hear some live music. And the first half an hour was just, I had anxiety. I felt like everybody was staring at me and that everybody knew that I wasn't drinking and they were making up all these stories about me. And that's not true at all. And so once that half an hour passed, it was totally fine. I had a great time and I drank probably 20 seltzer waters that night. And, but it's all good. So it's hard. And I think if we just keep powering through, you're going to realize that you don't need alcohol to have fun and that you actually have a better time and that you feel great the next day.
Yeah, that's the best part. It is definitely tough. And I found out throughout my journey, I know the old friends at first, you're going to be hanging out with people, but I've honestly found out that I just really have outgrown a lot of relationships, for better or worse. We have different interests, and things change a little bit. But maybe if you're hanging out with old friends, maybe try to do something a little bit different. Maybe go for a walk, maybe go get a coffee, maybe hang out with people in the morning instead of maybe hanging out with people at night. I just try to change up the activities. And then if these people are close to you and they still want to keep a relationship going, then it should be okay. But it is definitely a struggle, right? You want to, kind of keep those people around that you're comfortable with, that but maybe changing up the routine might help. Like going out and doing the exact same stuff I was doing before, I probably wouldn't be in recovery and be sober if I was still doing the same stuff. So I had to change up my routines too, not going to the bar every day, changing things up at first until I sort of had a foundation that was solid.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you know a particular group of friends, or even one friend in particular is not going to be supportive of you on this journey, then definitely just don't go. You don't have to go to everything that you're invited to. You're allowed to say no thanks and stay home and do your own thing, or go out with other people who are going to be supportive and just stick with them.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, you say no and you just do your own thing. Somebody mentioned too about navigating their first alcohol free summer. What was that like for you? Your first summer where it's just beautiful out. How'd you do it?
To be honest, it might be kind of boring for you guys, but the first summer I didn't do a lot. I really didn't. I really was focused on myself and my journey, and I was out walking every day, probably twice a day, especially if I was still having cravings. I would put my sneakers on, go outside. I didn't go to a lot of like parties or things that involved alcohol. And I was okay with that because I kept just saying like I want to get to where I want to go. I want to get there. So that's just going to hold me up. And, I feel like I always say, like, it's okay to lay low while you're getting your shit together because it's going to be worth it and you're going to be glad you did it. If you keep just putting yourself back into these vulnerable situations when you're not ready, then, you might not get to where you want to be. So it's temporary. My second year of sobriety in summer, I had tons of fun and I was able to put myself into situations like that and feel okay. So if you're early on, it's okay. Find like somebody who that doesn't drink and just really like stick with them for the summer and make different plans. Think outside the box. I felt like I was always doing stuff, but I realized I wasn't. I was just like sitting around drinking. Even if it was with girlfriends, I wasn't experiencing life So now I definitely like I'll look up like events or live music or just try totally new things. And it's fun. You can really get creative. It's does not have to be boring or isolating. And in fact, yeah, you definitely don't want to isolate. So keep busy, but be intentional about what you are going to be doing.
Yeah, I love that. It is actually, I mean, that is, I think, what a lot of people need to do, right? Is you got to spend some time with yourself because we spent so much time like neglecting our own needs. And then we get sober, and you got to find a way to build up your confidence and build up your self esteem and start really like learning who you are again. That's what I found anyway. I had to figure out who I was because substances just became my identity, probably the entire thing. Like that's what it was all about. Yeah, getting sober, you have to figure out who you are again, and there's no better way to do it than spend some time with yourself, as uncomfortable and as lonely as it may be. I think you got to do that and figure out who you are and what you want to get in life and set some goals for yourself. So, beautiful. Thank you, Megan. Another one is now this is going to be for a lot of people. I think this one's going to hit home, right? Say you have to go to an event. You have to attend this wedding or you have to. I mean, you don't ever necessarily have to, but I feel like sometimes we feel like we have to and we do want to show up for it. But how do you navigate social events where alcohol is the theme, right? It could be weddings, it could be these barbecues, it could be many different things.
Yeah, that's a great question. I definitely would say before you even go, decide that you're not going to drink. When we kind of leave that door open and we don't really, when you leave one foot in, like maybe I will, and the other foot maybe I won't. You have to go all in. You got to commit to yourself. You got to look in the mirror and be like, I'm gonna go to this thing, and I'm not gonna drink, and I'm gonna have a great time, and I'm gonna feel good the next day. So before you even go, just make that commitment to yourself. That way you're not, on the fence or, easily persuaded to be like, just have one. So I feel like starting there and then pack yourself, if it's like a cookout or depending what it may be, but pack yourself the coolest cooler of your favorite alcohol-free drinks and pack more than what you think you need. Don't just put like two or three in there. Put like 10 because you're probably going to want to drink a lot and always just have something in your hand and splurge on it, like don't just get the basic ones, maybe get something a little bit more fun. And if any beers or drinks like are your thing, if that's okay for you and doesn't trigger you to want the real thing, then go for that, especially if it's, a special occasion that you're heading out for. So I definitely feel like that. And then always have a drink in your hand. Like as soon as you are walking in, try to like have the drink ready to go so that if someone does come up to you and says like, "Hey, can I get you a drink?" You can just hold it up and be like, "Oh, thanks, I already got one," and you don't even have to tell them what it is. You can put it in a cup that a refillable thing and they don't know what it is if you're not ready to like be open about your sobriety because sometimes, people just aren't there yet and that's okay. And another tip would be just to, like, eat before you go. Sometimes we think we, are having a craving, but we're really just hungry or thirsty. So a lot of times you wouldn't eat before you go to a birthday party or something like that. But this time, I definitely would eat. I would eat something, and I feel like that should help you out a little bit. So I don't know. Those are some things that I feel like helped me a little bit in the beginning. So hopefully that'll help you guys too.
Yeah, those are incredible, Megan. I don't know if there's any more left there to list. I mean, I think if you can have somebody at the party to be an accountability partner of some sort, if there's another sober person out there or there's somebody else who's just not going all the way in that you can, check in and talk to. If that's not available, then you should have somebody that you can reach on your phone. I think somebody you can text or message, you can check in with every half an hour. And if everything goes great, but at least you've checked in with somebody. And then if something's not going well, then you can share that instead of just like keeping it all into yourself. It can be heavy, right? For those events, right? People are kind of flopping around and it'll bring up a lot of memories too. And I mean, always play the tape forward. That's an incredible tool. Play the tape forward to what the next day looks like, right? You're going to get up, you're going to be rocking and rolling, you're going to get the house cleaned up, you're going to have that coffee that hits a bit different. You're going to feel proud of yourself. You're going to feel all this incredible stuff, early on in your journey and even later in your journey. You're just going to be really proud of yourself. And for me coming into recovery, there wasn't many moments where I was actually proud of myself. So to get that, that was incredible to be like, you did something hard, you worked through it, like be proud of yourself, enjoy it for a bit, and on to the next one. So that was like really good. And I feel like every time we do it, we build that muscle up, right? We build that muscle up to where we're more confident and we're more comfortable. But at first, it's gonna be so uncomfortable. It was for me. It was so uncomfortable. Set yourself a timer too if you're gonna go to this event. If you're gonna go for commit for 2 hours, you commit for 2 hours, and at 2 hours, no matter what, you're out of there. So that you don't feel like you have to linger and hang out all night. That's not really the life you're gonna be living in recovery for the most part. I don't think you're not gonna be closing down bars. You're not gonna be doing that sort of stuff. You need to get home. You need to get some good rest. So do that. And if you are comfortable talking with people, then share with people what you want to share. I think when it comes to all this stuff, and I know everybody has their own journeys there, Megan, but I think the faster we can get to our truth, and for me, my truth is that I just can't drink alcohol for many, many different reasons, but I just don't have a good quality of life when I do. That kind of wraps everything up. I just can't be the person I want to be. And I think the sooner we get to that we're going to be better off, and everybody's going to kind of be on their own journey. And the only reason I say that is because I wore so many masks in life. I wore all these masks, and I felt like at the beginning of my journey, when I was tiptoeing around the idea of where my life was headed, like I felt like I was still not being true to myself. And that was like a big problem for my addiction, is I just wasn't being true to myself. I was just wearing all these masks to just fit in and for people to like me and to be accepted and to be one of the boys. That was so important. I mean, I would sacrifice my own well-being day in and day out just to be part of something. So however that looks for you, that's cool. I'm not saying you go and, get on the stage in front of this event and tell everybody that you don't drink. But I think to do that, and then I'm gonna let you share here, Megan. But I think to follow up with that is that I had to really understand that not everybody was where I was at with things with my life falling apart yet. I say yet there because for a lot of people, they could potentially eventually get there. But this thing's progressive. It takes time. You hear all the stories 10, 20, 30 years. And I had to really understand that other people can enjoy this and their life moves on. For me, that's not the case. I don't feel good about it. I don't feel good when that's what I'm doing. So I just had to really understand, what, things are a little bit different for me, and that's okay.
Yeah, I love that, and I love how I was just about to say that too, to play the tape forward. I mean, we all hear that, but it really is such a great tool, especially in these situations, and I do that still to this day. I
Mm,
really do, but I'll just, like, sit in my mind and what would it look like if I have one? If I have one, I'll have many more. It never ended at one. And I'll think of my worst hangover ever and I'll just be like, that's where I'm gonna end up if I do this right now. And so to this day, like playing the tape forward definitely still helps me. But I also want you to like feel confident in this decision. I know there is so much shame that comes with it and I felt it for a long time, but it is so amazing that you've recognized that this was a problem in your life and that you're doing something about it. Most people wanna drink less or actually not at all. They're just not willing to do the work, and you are. So be proud of it. Don't, try to just let that shame go. And another thing to help you out would be to if someone asks you, "Oh, well, why aren't you drinking?"
mm,
Have your what you're gonna say, and you can just say something simple as, I don't like the way it makes me feel, so I'm not drinking today." You could make up something like, "I have something tomorrow morning." If you're not ready to, if this person doesn't really mean anything to you or, you're just not ready to get into the deep topic of it, yeah, you just say, "I just feel better when I don't drink." And
mhm,
which is the truth. It really is. So I think that
exactly.
that's like a great um, tool that I use as well. So just
Yeah.
definitely go into it and feel proud and confident because what you're doing is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that's powerful. Be proud of yourself too for getting through these events and these things. And then I mean the overall thing too is if you're not comfortable with everything like Megan mentioned before, you can skip this stuff. I mean, do you want to necessarily skip this stuff forever? I mean, I personally don't. Reason I started down this journey was so I could have a life because I wasn't living before. I was, merely existing. So for me, it's important to really, be involved with stuff, but things do change. That brings me over to the next question we have here, Megan. Do you still have cravings?
Hmm. I don't know if I'd say cravings, but maybe moments where it comes in. They become less and less, at at 2.5 years sober now. They're different than what they used to be. They're not triggered so much actually by stress, which was a huge reason why I drank, was stress and loneliness and all those things. Like I'm able to just, power through those moments and use different tools that I've picked up over the years. So, but when I do have a craving, I know that I need to move. I know sitting here is not going to make it better. So I'll try to like get outside, try to listen to something positive, whether it is a sober podcast or just something that's going to lift me up. And so, yeah, I don't want to say like I never ever have cravings. They're just different. They're not where those so strong where your body's like creepy crawly and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to do this. I'd say for the most part, I don't have those as much. And a big part of it is like a mindset thing as well, which I feel like I've really gotten good at that. And I don't want to go back to where I was. And that keeps me moving forward a lot is that I think back to where I was and how I felt. And that's usually strong enough to help me to not break down and have a drink.
Yeah, I love that. It's tricky
Yeah,
at first,
what
though.
about you? What about you,
Yeah,
Brad? Do you ever have
yeah,
cravings?
yeah. I'll touch on that. I want to just mention some what you said there. It's tricky though because even though we have that experience to where we've hit kind of just for lack of better terms a bottom of some sort, right? We've kind of things have kind of fallen apart. We're not feeling good about ourselves, and even though so many of us get there, the amnesia is so real. You know, we'll talk with people, right? Over the years, I've I've talked to probably thousands of people, thousands of people whose life was unmanageable in one way or another. They wanted to quit. They struggled to quit. And you'd hear the story on the day after the big blowout, right? Big blowout. This consequences galore. Everything was falling apart, the marriage, the house, the job, the impaired driving, the relationship with the children, the relationship with themselves. I mean, it's clear as day looking at it that it's just you're in trouble. And then you follow up with them a couple days later, and it's like it's all gone. You don't remember it. And I was once in that spot too, where I would get arrested and I would commit to myself, I was gonna stop and I was gonna slow down and I was gonna do this and I was gonna do that. And then yeah, it was like a couple days later, I would forget about all of it and just get back at it. So I think that's something that you sounds like you keep that pretty close, which I think is incredible. You keep that close and remember those times. Don't let yourself forget about it. And I'm the same way. I never want to forget what it was like those last couple months where it was like I had one foot in this world and one foot in another world. It was scary. So like I think that's a really good tool to keep fresh. So I put a post out on Instagram the other day. Some people close the door on the past and move on from it. And there's no like I'm not telling anybody like there's a way to do it. It's what kind of works for me and hearing from Megan. But the cravings part's interesting, right? Because I don't necessarily crave substances. And I was doing everything under the sun. What I do crave at times is the escape. So I was using substances to get outside of myself so I didn't have to feel anything, right? I didn't, in my whole life, I never felt good enough. So when I used substances, drinking, drugs, whatever it was, the voices turned off and I felt like I could accept myself and I could deal with myself, I guess. but definitely crave the escape when things get stressful. I mean, when life gets hard, I just don't want to deal with it. I'm just like, forget about it. I don't want to deal with anything. But you have to. That's how you grow. I mean, you sit with it and you process it and you go through it and you come out the other side a little bit stronger. Like, I mean, when I say a little bit, I mean like a little bit, like a strand of hair. And but every time you can build on that, you can show yourself that you can do stuff. And I mean, I just know that substances will change things temporarily, but I know when it wears off, um, there I am. It's not going to
Mhm.
fix problems. It just sort of prolongs them. And when I got sober, I had such a mess to clean up. Like I had such a mess to clean up. I don't think I got it in me to clean up another mess. So yeah, I mean, that's sort of it. And, for all the stuff that comes, I mean, you communicate with people. When this stuff comes up, you got to share it with people. You don't just keep it all in. You don't just be a tough guy. You talk with people. You share with people that you trust that can help you. And what helps me the most, Megan, is just when somebody just listens. I don't necessarily need answers from people for what's going on, but I just need somebody to say, like, yeah, you know what? Like, it's hard. I've been there. I hear you. And I'm like, the weight's just lifted off my shoe. But I have to get vulnerable to share with people. And that's a whole another podcast. But yeah, so there's a long answer to your short question, Megan.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny you say that sometimes you just need to talk about it, needs someone to listen. And I just finished my professional recovery coaching certification, and that was something that she shared right away was that the client should be doing 75% of the talking and the coach should be doing the rest. So we really, as a coach shouldn't be doing the talking. It should be the client that's talking through their problems and finding their own answers and solutions to what they have going on, and not giving them all of the answers, that they just, if they keep talking, they'll eventually, figure things out. So that made me think of that. But also when you were talking, it made me think of people. And a few things here. One, you might realize that people you were hanging with, that you thought they were so much fun and that they were so great, but you realize once you stop drinking and you get sober and you have this clear mind that they're actually not that interesting anymore. And but that's okay. That maybe you don't want to hang out with them anymore and that you're moving on to different things. Doesn't mean they're bad. It just means you need more. You need more of like a stimulation and more of a real deep friendship or relationship. And so I've definitely realized that. And then surround yourself with just good people that are trying, look around, like who in your life is trying to like better themselves. And well, none of us are perfect, but you want to gravitate towards those people, somebody maybe even that you look up to, even if you don't know them and they're somebody, off social media. That's what I did. I had followed a girl for a long time who didn't drink, and she would always talk about it, how proud she was and how much her life changed, and I just kept watching, taking it all in, and eventually I was able to slowly start, implementing some of those things. So it really matters who you are surrounding yourselves with. And at the end of the day, my phone rings a lot less, I would say. I don't have as many acquaintances and I don't get invited to as much as I used to, but I have very solid people in my life that I can count on and that support me in what I'm doing, would never want to offer me a drink or
Hmm.
question what I'm doing. So it really does make a huge difference. So just be mindful of that. And you might need to clean house a little bit when it comes to that.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. And there's always that quote that goes around in the success or the business world, right? Like, show me your five closest relationships. Also, I'll show you your future type thing. And a lot of
Mhm.
people say too, like, if we just want to look, if you hang out with five successful people, you'll be the sixth. If you hang out with five people who are drinking alcohol every day, you'll be the sixth. Not, I mean, this probably isn't guaranteed, but you can really look at your relationships around you and kind of explore that thing, right? Because there's a lot there. There's a lot there to look at about, like, is this going to work out for you? Who are you hanging out with? Who are you spending your time from? Where are you getting your information from? How are you feeling? Like, do these people bring you up or do they bring you down? Like, that is a huge thing And I always drop this, Megan. I know he dropped this so many times, but the 4 quarters is better than 100 pennies, right?
I use that all the time.
I
I
love
use
it.
that all the time.
I love it. Am I considered one of your good friends here virtually?
Heck yeah. Heck yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, you've been just connecting with you and getting inspiration and just and having somebody to, to chit chat with. But yeah, I would say, yeah, you're one of my 4 quarters for sure. I use that all the time, even like with my kids. I'm like, when it comes to friends, 4 quarters is better than 100 pennies. And they'll just be like, what?
I I think we could solve a lot of the problems we have in life if we understood that at a young age, because we want acceptance, I think, as humans, right? But if we can go about, not I always struggle with just trying to get everybody's acceptance in the mass and trying to be everybody's buddy. And at the end of the day, I didn't know this at the time, but I was just completely exhausted from just trying to please everybody. And it came at such a cost personally, but that's probably a whole nother show, Megan.
Just gonna say that, Brad. I know we could sit and chat forever. Can I mention one last thing? Punta Cana retreat. This kind of has to do with summer.
Yeah, let's get it.
Okay. Yeah. So this is to all the ladies out there, all the sober women, sober ladies that are listening. I am hosting a women's alcohol-free retreat in October. So this will, be at the end of the summer. It's an alcohol-free retreat. It's going to be amazing. And you'll be hanging out with me on a beach and it's going to be great. So if you're interested, hit me up or Brad and let us know. I'm really excited.
I can't
Yeah.
go. It's only for
Yeah.
women.
I know. Maybe someday. Well, you'll have to do your own, and I'll show
Yeah,
you how you can have fun. You don't need alcohol, and it'll just be the greatest time of your life, and you won't be hungover at all any of those days. So, just
that's
wanted to throw that out there.
yeah, that's beautiful. And I went to my first sort of, I guess you could call it my first with Luke, right? Luke hosted this event in Toronto, and it was like a sober event. Man, I had a blast. I didn't even want to leave. It was really weird. I was like, I don't even want to leave. Well, I mean, it was good because I had like a 2 hour drive there, and it was nice to just listen to music. And with the 3 kids and the dog and everything at the house, it's relatively busy. And this was a nice time for me to just kind of unplug, listen to some tunes, think a little bit. But yeah, the event was just incredible. And to hang out with people, the thing is about when you meet other people that are sober, alcohol free, whatever you want to call them, right away, they get you. Like they understand how hard you work to get where you are. And they also understand the pain and everything that got you to that place. And it's like this instant mutual respect that I just don't find in other communities. I just don't find it. And it's like whether you're the guy with one day or whether you're curious if your life could be better without drinking, everybody just loves on you. You know what I mean? So it was so cool. So I think, yeah, Megan doing the retreat there and getting together with other people that are just trying to rock and roll. They're just trying to live their best lives. And I mean, for most of us, I think we come to the conclusion early on, if we're going to live our best lives, we got to let the booze go. We have to let the booze go. And I saw a video recently of a guy who was drinking like one drink a night. And he did a video and he said, "Oh, I got to try this out." Other people inspired him with their stories that their lives were getting better. And he wasn't an alcoholic or anything, but he said, "Let me cut it out." After 30, 60, 90 days, he felt so much connection with himself. He had no idea that the booze was causing this disconnect. But yeah. Let's see. We've got this last one, Megan, we'll finish up on if that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
How
Go
do you
for it.
talk how do you talk yourself out of having a drink on a deck on a nice day, right? Cutting your grass is drinking, doing your barbecue is drinking. Just chilling and having people over on the weekends is, can be associated with that. So how do you, whether it's on a deck, but it's beautiful. You're walking by the patio, everybody's smiling ear to ear. They're having something to eat and they're having a couple of drinks. How do you keep yourself going on the journey?
Well, a couple quick things I would do is I would pour myself a drink. I would pour myself a nice, refreshing drink that doesn't have alcohol in it. I'd put a bunch of ice in it, maybe even put it in a wine glass if I was really feeling festive. And just change it up a little bit, whether it is like flavored soda water with like some limes, and so I would have a drink, so I would quench my thirst, if you will. Then I would just again fast play that tape forward, but picture where I want to go and what would that person make as a decision, and would they drink? And the answer would be no. I know personally too, and that's the thing. You have to come to that realization if you haven't yet, that you can't just have one. I lived in that place of moderation. Like, I can do this, I can just have one, I can control this. And it wasn't until I was like, I really can't just have one, because I know if I had a bottle of wine sitting there and I poured one glass of wine, I will guarantee you I will finish that entire bottle. There's no having one and being like, all right, cool, and just walking away from it.
Mm.
So there's no such thing as just one for me. So relaxing, and that's the other thing. If I'm stressed and I'm like, I'm gonna have a drink because I'm stressed out, when we drink alcohol, we release stress hormones. So I use science and be like, I'm going to be more stressed. So why would I do that? If my kids are stressing me out, I don't need a drink. I need a moment to myself to breathe and to decompress. So in a nutshell, hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think too, like this was very real for people. And Stephanie Noble joined the podcast in previous episodes. She shared something that like it blew me away. So I got to give her all the credit here. But recovery lives in your feet. The problem I had when I was stopping and starting, stopping and starting is I was trying to like think my way out of it. And I just wasn't there. I just wasn't strong in that area. And I was trying to just do my best thinking. Well, if I'll just sit here and I'll think my way out. And like, it was a disaster. What she shared there, recovery lives in your feet. What I figured out, I got to get moving and I got to get to doing something that brings me joy as fast as humanly possible. Whether that be riding my bike, whether that be going for a walk or maybe going fishing or listening to some music or connecting with somebody else, I got to get moving because if I just sit here, it happened countless times and I just got eaten alive. And before I knew it, I was on autopilot to Food Lion. And then I would wonder at the end of the night, well, how did this happen? And it's like, oh, well, now I can see that, right? Hindsight's always 2020, or at least it should be. And I can see that. So I would say anybody that's like, hey, you're sitting on the deck. I get it. You want to chill. You worked hard all week. You want to relax. But if you're in that spot where this is going to take you over, because it will, and you thinking about it ain't going to change anything. They say move a muscle, change your thought, right? I think that's how it goes, you know, and move your feet and your mind will follow. These are some of the things, right? I had this one guy I used to work with at the treatment center, and he had wisdom. I mean, beyond belief. He must have just searched on Google all day for these quotes because he had a quote for every occasion. And those were some of them, right? But you got to get moving. A lot of people go to the gym, I mean, go for a drive too. A lot of people really enjoy that. I mean, I know in the past couple of years, gas has kind of gotten a bit expensive, but so is alcohol. But you can go for a drive on a country road and listen to some tunes that you love and just, you know, the, when you were younger that you really connected to. Like you got to get moving. Oh, the solution to any of this stuff is get moving. You got to do something.
I love that. That is so true, because when I think back to the times where I struggled and where I did go and ended up breaking down and having a drink, I was just sitting here stewing in it,
Hmm.
letting it consume me, consume my whole body and everything. And then once I finally, would be like, all right, put my sneakers on, I'm going outside, putting on my headphones, and I'm just going to walk for just a little bit. That's when things started to move, things started to happen. So when you sit here stagnant, it's only a matter of time. So yeah, I love that. That's great that Stephanie shared that. That's good info.
Yeah. And the hardest part about it too is it's the last thing you want to do. It's literally when that rains down on you, those cravings, the triggers, everything, the last thing you want to do is like get up and do something. But you got to push yourself, get accountability partners, people who are going to push you and motivate you and inspire you that like you got to just get up and do it. I made a post too recently about like nobody was coming to save me. Towards the end of my journey, I understood that. is that nobody was coming to save me. I'd burned all the bridges and everybody was tired of all the excuses and tired of the promises, and they were just tired of all the garbage. And that was really when it hit me that, like, if I was going to do this, like, I was literally going to have to do this for like a couple weeks at least before people were going to have any buy-in. And I just put my head down and I just got to work on it. Like, I just got to work. When I didn't want to, I didn't want to. I didn't want to be uncomfortable. I didn't want to do stuff I wasn't used to. But yeah,
But I think this was great. I hope it was helpful for everybody. And if you need more help, reach out, and you're going to have a great summer. Just think about it as one summer. It's not going to be every summer. Just take it in small chunks. You're going to do this summer, and you're going to just see what it's like without alcohol. And you're not going to want to do it any other way. So,
yeah,
yeah.
that's the truth. All right, everybody. Hopefully, you can find something here that can help you on your journey. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you again, Megan. You're incredible as always.
Thanks, Brad.
Well, I hope you were able to pick up something from this that could maybe help you on your journey, help you have a fun, beautiful summer. If you enjoy a little episode like this, be sure to let me know. Send me over an email, brad@bradt as in Thomas McLeod.com. I'd love to put some more of this stuff together if it's something that anyone's interested in. See you on the next one.